Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. It is January the 8th, and boy, oh boy, is the news cycle heating up for the National Football League. Had a bunch of coaches fired, obviously, this last week. A lot of shuffling going on. You got some big-name coaches like John Harbaugh looking to figure out where they're going to land next, or kind of holding out a little bit. Maybe a better job will come available if some firings happen this week as the first round of the playoffs will wrap up. Man, there's just so much to talk about. And what I want to do is kind of dive into some stuff that I think could have an effect on our Green Bay Packers. And specifically around, first of all, a GM hire that could take place here in the league, which could deplete a little bit, take someone away from the Packers organization. A head coaching hire, which could potentially take Jeff Hafley away. There was another surprise firing this morning, which may add a coach to the Green Bay Packers staff. And, of course, we talked about Raheem Morris earlier in the week as well. He's got Matt LaFleur ties. So we got a bunch to get into. So we're going to dive into it right now. Before we do, if you would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your afternoon. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. Let's waste no time and get into it. I know the chat's already on fire. Appreciate everybody jumping in here on such short notice. Let's talk a little ball. Let's talk a little business, really, more so than ball. As several things came down the pike here this morning, the NFL tweeted out, Dolphins part ways with head coach Mike McDaniel. Some people were going, what's this have to do with the Packers, Clayton? Mike McDaniel and Matt LaFleur are very good friends. They both come from that same Shanahan McVay tree, right? More the Shanahan tree than McVay. McVay split off. And then, of course, our boy Mike McDaniel got his start with San Francisco, completely revamped their running game. He did this years ago, too, as a very, very young coach. If anybody don't know about Mike McDaniel, he actually was a ball boy with Kyle Shanahan in Denver when Kyle Shanahan's dad, Mike, was winning those Super Bowls with the Denver Broncos, right? So they became good friends. They came up the coaching ranks together. They ended up in Houston together. Really cool backstory. I don't want to make this show about that, but he dealt with some addiction, Mike McDaniel did, and Matt LaFleur helped get him back in the league as he was recovering from that. Really, really cool background there. So, again, Mike McDaniel is fired in Miami now, and you're going, what does this have to do with the Packers, Clayton? We don't even have a coaching vacancy available. That's true. However, I want to point out a couple of different things. Let's start to tie this together. All right. Ari Miral put this tweet out. It said the Dolphins are believed to want to hire a general manager within the next 24 to 48 hours, barring something unforeseen. So now the Miami Dolphins are looking to hire their general manager. And then shortly after that, I imagine they're going to handpick their coach. Now, every team structure is a little bit different. You guys know back in the day, the general manager had a lot more say in who the head coach was going to be. They had complete personnel to see all that stuff, right? The coach just kind of coached the team. And the general manager would hire the coach. In Green Bay, that's not the structure, right? Mark Murphy actually hired Matt LaFleur. So he made the decision to fire Mike McCarthy and hire Matt LaFleur. Obviously, he hired Brian Gutekunst as well, but Goody is not Matt LaFleur's boss. In some cases, general managers are the boss of the head coach, right? I don't know if that's the complete structure in Miami, but nonetheless, the general manager is going to have a lot of say in who the next head coach is going to be if he doesn't make the decision outright, right? So again, with Mike McDaniel being fired, now Ari Miral, why did he tweet that out? The Dolphins are believed to want to hire a GM within the next 24 to 48 hours. Guys, that had to have come from the team. So somebody either leaked that information or they wanted that information out. They probably wanted the information out to speed the process along, get the general manager in-house. That way, that general manager, you can bounce ideas off of him or let him make the decision altogether and go through and hire his head coach that he handpicks, right? So that kind of starts to unfold. Now you're going, all right, they want a GM, Clayton. Who cares? Let me tell you why we should care. So Tom Pelissero tweeted out, the Dolphins plan to hire a general manager most likely in the next day or two before conducting their head coaching search per sources. 4 finalists for the general manager interviewing in person: the Chargers' Chad Alexander, Packers, John Eric Sullivan, 49ers, Josh Williams, and interim general manager, Champ Kelly. So again, John Eric Sullivan is one of the final 4 candidates for the Dolphins general manager job. So again, if you look at these coaches, right, and these general managers, let's say they had a big chunk of say in who the next head coach is going to be for the Miami Dolphins. Who would the Chargers bring in, right? Would they bring in, I'm trying to think, would they bring in Jesse Minter, I think he's the DC or maybe the OC, one of the assistant, one of the coordinators in LA. Would he bring one of those people in from that staff, right? Packers, we'll get to that in a second. 49ers, Josh Williams. Would they potentially bring in Robert Saleh to be the new head coach? He's the DC in San Francisco. So if Josh Williams gets the job, would he bring them in, right? So again, there's a lot of different scenarios that could unfold here, right? Now, I believe they've got somebody in-house as well, right? Yeah, and interim GM Champ Kelly. So that's their current general manager. I doubt he'll get the job, right? So Packers, John Eric Sullivan. Think about this, guys. If John Eric Sullivan gets the job as general manager for the Miami Dolphins, and he were to bring someone with him from Green Bay to be the head coach, who do you think that guy would be? It's going to be Jeff Hafley, right? So again, me personally, if I was doing a head coaching search, now the interviewing process is a huge part of making that decision, right? So, you kind of find, 3 or 4 finalists, like, all right, these are the top head coaching candidates for me. You get them in-house, you interview them, and the interview is going to kind of sway you one way or another if the choice is pretty close, unless you got someone like a John Harbaugh that's, okay, hands down, he's the best candidate available, right? Now, he took the opposite approach and said, hey, guys, I want to wait about a week, right? And that's going to cause all these other interviews to kind of take place and fall into place first, right? I would not pick Jeff Hafley over several of the other candidates if it were me. And you guys know I love Jeff Hafley. I absolutely love Jeff Hafley. But there are a couple other candidates I think that would be a little more appealing to me. You guys know I'm more offensive minded. I would think like Clint Kubiak with the Seattle Seahawks. That would be one that I would bring in. But notice there's nobody being plucked from the Seahawks organization. It doesn't mean they wouldn't hire another potential head coaching candidate right outside of that building, whichever building it is. But it does kind of sway the opinion a little bit. So John Eric Sullivan being a finalist there for the Miami Dolphins job in terms of general manager kind of makes me think, I just about guarantee, I would almost bet the farm that they would try to get Jeff Hafley in on an interview for sure. So moving along, Jeff Darlington tweeted out some context into the Dolphins' decision to fire Mike McDaniel. Per multiple people involved in the decision, owner Steve Ross met with McDaniel on Tuesday, and the outcome of the meeting left Ross very conflicted. He really likes Mike, loves his intelligence, and probably, offensive prowess, I'm sure is what it goes on to say. Now, he quote tweeted that and said, I'm told the Dolphins expect to make a decision on their general manager by tomorrow. They met with interim GM Champ Kelly on Wednesday, and other 3 candidates, Chad Alexander, Josh Williams, and John Eric Sullivan, flew into South Florida last night for in-person interviews that are taking place today. So now you've got 2 confirmed reports from 2 different guys that cover the sport, and you guys know these are big follows, right? 292,000 follows. Jeff Darlington's a real deal in terms of this. This information definitely came from the Miami Dolphins, so it's confirmed. They're probably going to make a decision by tomorrow. And again, they're interviewing all of these, front office executives. Now, if you're wondering, if you don't know who John Eric Sullivan is, it's basically Brian Gutekunst's right-hand man, okay? Goody is a general manager, right? And John Eric Sullivan is kind of his right-hand guy, and Goody has just talked about him. He's gushed over him over and over and over. This dude is general manager material. He will get a GM job sooner or later. That's for sure. Now, the fact that you had the youngest roster, you got 17 people on IR, 16, whatever the final number is, on injured reserve, season-ending injured reserve, and you're still in the playoffs, says a lot about what the Packers have done as an organization. And, although some teams, like maybe the Dolphins, don't completely agree with them staying the youngest team in the league, you guys know I'm kind of anti that. Not that you should be older, but I just don't like being the youngest every single year. Maybe they would tweak some stuff here or there, but you can't deny how the Packers have built this organization and made the playoffs now, 3 years in a row with the youngest roster in the league. It's pretty impressive. Now, time will tell whether that's just mostly Matt LaFleur or if it's maybe the talent that's on the roster. But nonetheless, this is now confirmed, right? Now, Why do I mention all that? Again, will Jeff Hafley end up interviewing for the Miami Dolphins job? That's going to be the big question, right? Now, Hafley met with the media yesterday, and Wendell Ferreira tweeted this video out. Shout out to Wendell Ferreira. Y'all go give him a follow over on X. And this was Jeff Hafley just talking with the media. I want you to pay attention to how he ends this press conference, okay? And again, this doesn't mean he's staying in Green Bay, but just his mindset is, I'm focused on us going out and taking care of business against Chicago, and that's the right answer. You'll hear comments like this throughout the process sometimes. You think, oh, he's not leaving. BS. If this dude gets offered a significant head coaching job in a decent position, who would like to live in South Florida? Doesn't sound too bad, does it? Right? And have full control and kind of say with the general manager, John Eric Sullivan, giving him a lot of input. If they go down there and they try to build Green Bay Southeast, right, it sounds pretty good. But here's what Hafley had to say yesterday. And again, towards the end, you'll kind of hear his answer on potentially leaving. And again, this was Jason Wilde that posted it first. And it looks like Wendell Ferreira, I believe it was, Jason Wilde. Yeah. And then Wendell Ferreira, of course, quote tweeted it and threw it out there. That's how it ended up on my timeline. If the volume's down, I apologize. You can see I've got it cranked up, so you may have to turn your TVs up, your tablets up, your phones up. But here we go, Jeff Hafley.
Yeah, I love this group. I love being part of the Green Bay Packers, and I never take that for granted every day when I drive in and I get to see Lambeau Field, honestly. I mean, I'm a guy who started coaching division.
I get to see Lambeau Field. I absolutely. And by the way, they're practicing in Lambeau today. How cool is that? I can't wait to see those practice pictures.
3 football and worked my way up to be a college head coach. And now I'm part of the greatest NFL organization that there is, getting to call the plays. So that is so humbling to me. I love the defensive players that we coach. Like, I love these guys, and I love the staff, and I love working for Matt. And I never take that for granted, not 1 second, which is why when I answer that question, I don't think it'd be fair to anybody in here, anybody a part of this, for me not to give everything I have for this game. Would one day I like to be a head coach again? Absolutely, for sure. But like, just even answering this question for you right now, I just am so grateful and so happy to be here and be part of this. And I've just loved coming to work every single day here. Like, even joking with you guys, like, I know sometimes it's hard and you ask hard questions, but you guys have been incredible. And I mean that. And it's not like that everywhere. So I thank you guys for that. Everything that I have been a part of here, from Goody to Ed to Matt, it's just been like, what a blessing to be here for me and my family.
All right. So what a blessing it is for me to be here with me and my family, right? I love how he shouted out everybody. Front office, coaches, the media, everybody, just a stand-up dude. This guy is head coaching material. Don't get me wrong. That's why I'm saying he might not be my top choice, because I like offensive-minded coaches. But you could get an interviewing process, and he may blow your freaking socks off and go, that's my dude right there. That's my guy. Listen how he ends it. It's the best part. Listen to what he says right here.
So I appreciate that, and we are not going to be done. So I will see you guys next week.
That little slap of the podium right there. One more time for those in the back.
And we are not going to be done. So I will see you guys next week.
So he basically calling the shot, boys. He's saying we will not be done, meaning we're going to go out there and take care of business, right? And I'll see you guys next week when we do our presser getting ready for the divisional round. Pretty damn cool stuff there. So again, Jeff Hafley, will he end up in Miami? Will he end up somewhere else? Now, it sounds like the front runner for the New York Giants job is probably going to be John Harbaugh, but John Harbaugh putting that on the back burner might open up a little window for someone like Jeff Hafley to interview up there. And that's where he grew up. That's where he's from, right? That's where his roots are in the Northeast. If he goes up there and crushes the interview, and then 1 week later, maybe John Harbaugh don't get a chance to actually go in there and talk to him too detailed because he decided to wait a week, right? That could happen as well. But nonetheless, wouldn't be surprised if the hire is John Eric Sullivan, if he tries to take Jeff Hafley with him. Another candidate to think about, a little bit of Green Bay ties. You guys remember last year, Jeff Hafley got the job. Who was his linebacker coach? Anthony Campanile. Anthony Campanile goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars as the defensive coordinator. They blow up. I wouldn't be surprised if that's another option for them to potentially take. Now, here's the thing. Here's the trickle-down effect, too. Let's say Jeff Hafley does get the job in Miami, and he goes there with John Eric Sullivan. Well, guess what? The first thing he's going to do, he's going to take one of his guys from our staff as his DC, guaranteed. Who would it be? Would it be, Derek Ansley, our secondary coach? Would it be Coach DeMarcus Covington, our new defensive line coach, been there for 1 year? I feel like if he had to choose between those two, he'd probably take Ansley. It could be Ryan Downer, right? Maybe a lower level guy. That could be the case as well. And that's where Matt's got to make a decision. All right, who's the next DC going to be? Do you go out of the building? Do you promote one of those two? Do you try to promote them and block Hafley from taking that coach with him? Again, we're getting way ahead of our skis here, but this is the beautiful part about this time of year is I'm trying to lay out a potential roadmap of how these things happen. That way you can kind of understand as we move forward. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. That's how that all came about. And to think this is going on in 31 other cities across the league, it's just a fun time of the year, man. It really is. I love talking. Anytime sports and business mixes together, man, it's just my cup of tea. I absolutely love it. Now, back to this. Sleeper Packers tweeted out, Matt LaFleur and McDaniel work together in Washington and Atlanta. I bet we could find a spot for him on the staff. So this is another talking point, right? Mike McDaniel's now available, just like Raheem Morris. If I'm Matt LaFleur, I'm trying to get as many eyeballs in the freaking building as possible. You got two former head coaches, one on the defensive side, one on the offensive side. If you can get them in the house to help you kind of navigate everything and just get if anything, hey man, how much money do you need to hang out with us through the playoffs? Watch tape for me and give me a topped up report of what you see on the upcoming opponent, or maybe a topped up report of a self-scouting report on how our players performed in the last, 5 or 6 games of the season, right? Those type of things can really, really come in handy. They make a little chunk on the side. They're still around ball. They're in Lambeau Field hanging out with the Packers. I think this is a great move. Now, another angle here. I want to throw this out, okay? Now, McDaniel may get an offer somewhere else too as a head coach, guys. That's not off the table, right? I doubt it. I think that it's probably going to be one of those situations where he takes a step back and he becomes a coordinator or takes a year off, and then he's probably going to get another opportunity eventually, kind of like Josh McDaniels did in New England. He got a couple of different head coaching opportunities with Denver and obviously with the Raiders. And he kind of proved he's not head coach material. He's a hell of an OC, as you see what he's done with Drake May, literally in 1 year turnaround with Mike Vrabel at the helm. But maybe that's more of the approach for Mike McDaniel as well. But nonetheless, if you bring him in, just hear me out here. Anybody who watches this show consistently, that my knock on this Packers offense is offensive line. And listen, that's nothing special about me. Take a ticket, right? Take a number. Everybody's acknowledged the offensive line is taking a huge step back. Now, partially through injury, but even before the injuries happened, they were struggling, right? I personally believe, and I hate doing this because I don't want to call any individual out, but if you guys, imagine you watch the show to get my opinion from time to time. I like Adam Stenavich. I think Adam Stenavich is a good coach. It just seems like the offensive line has taken a huge step back since Coach Butkus took over as offensive line coach. If it were me, I would look to hire Mike McDaniel as your offensive coordinator or co-offensive coordinator, however the rules fall into place, what have you, right? If he's going to be an OC somewhere, I would want him to be my OC and have Adam Stenavich. Maybe he still has offensive coordinator tag or what have you, right? I don't think anybody's going to be beating down Adam Stenovich's door for a head coaching job, right? But let Steno solely focus on the offensive line, because when he was the offensive line coach, the offensive line played a lot better, in my opinion. And then you got Mike McDaniel in helping with the run game. That's his specialty, by the way, guys. You hear about the wide zone boot, you hear about the wide zone scheme and how Mike Shanahan married up Alex Gibbs's zone blocking scheme in the run game, and he took what he knew and his upbringing in the Bill Walsh West Coast offense. He put them together, and it became known as the wide zone boot, right? It's a West Coast offense. But everything they did, in Houston, in Washington, everywhere that Mike McDaniel went, you've seen an increase in the running game. You guys remember when San Francisco was running all over our ass in the playoff? This was the guy designing the run game for San Francisco. So I really, really like the idea of Matt LaFleur is the offensive coordinator. Make no bones about it, right? But what if you bring in someone like Mike McDaniel, if he doesn't get a head coaching offer, and now you've got him as your OC along with Stenavich focusing back on the offensive line as opposed to, Coach Buck is. Now you got let's get back to Steno with the O-line and you've got an extra guy with the eyes on the run game to help you get that going a little bit better, and Matt continuing to do what he does so great, scheming guys open in the passing game, right? I think that's an awesome roadmap, if you will, for the offensive side of the ball. Now, defensively, if Hafley leaves, all right, we got to kind of reset. Do you go out of the building? Do you just promote one of those two guys? How do you approach that, right? That's going to be another thing to take into consideration for sure. So with all that being said, that's just kind of a quick look at how I feel about Mike McDaniel. Now, just a quick recap, if you're kind of keeping up with the coaching carousel across the National Football League, to the best of my knowledge, this has been updated now. So here is what we got. NFL on ESPN tweeted this out. NFL coaching carousel is about to get busy. So here's the updated landscape. Head coaching openings are the Miami Dolphins, Baltimore Ravens. By the way, Baltimore Ravens sounds like there's some smoke around Brian Flores, B-Flow, leaving the Miami or the Minnesota Vikings. He's their defensive coordinator. A little bit of smoke there that he and the Ravens might be interested in each other. So if that's the case, maybe he takes the head coaching job at the Ravens. That makes Minnesota's defense significantly worse, in my opinion. B-Flow's a hell of a DC. Whether you think he's going to be a good coach or not, head coach, who knows? So Dolphins, Ravens, Giants. Again, Hafley's been linked to the Giants a little bit. Titans, Falcons, Cardinals, Browns, Raiders. Again, Dolphins, Ravens, Giants, Titans, Falcons, Cardinals, Browns, Raiders are the head coaching vacancies right now. Of course, the hottest commodity is John Harbaugh, and now there's several other coaches like Mike McDaniel that might get an offer somewhere too. I could see him going to somewhere like Tennessee and getting a head coaching job. I could totally see that because, again, Mike McDaniel's not a bad football coach. He actually did a decent job in Miami. There were some years where I remember it was like, oh boy, they got things going really, really, cranked up pretty good. And then, of course, they hit a wall like every team does. And it sounds like the culture down there wasn't great either. I mean, the way B-Flow left that whole job and how he got into it with the ownership, and they were trying to tank for Tua and a lot of stuff. Mike McDaniel, I thought, done a pretty damn good job coming in there and kind of putting all that fire out and then trying to get that thing back on track. Again, it just didn't work out. And I agree. I don't know if I agree with them firing him, but I can understand why they would fire him. Now, GM openings, Dolphins, Falcons, okay? So John Eric Sullivan, I'm not concerned about John Eric Sullivan leaving. Like, how are the Packers going to do without John Eric Sullivan? I'm not worried about that. The only concern there is wherever he goes, there's a decent chance Hafley could be one of his top candidates because they're familiar with each other, right? So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Dolphins, Falcons. What I would love to see happen as a Packer fan is, here's the best case scenario, and I'll wrap up. I would love to see the Dolphins and the Falcons go in a different direction than John Eric Sullivan. Okay, so John Eric Sullivan stays with the Packers. Hafley, I would love to see him stay with the Packers. I'd love to see them bring in Mike McDaniel. Hopefully he doesn't get a head coaching job. Bring him in and have him basically be a co-offensive coordinator or make up a damn title, whatever it is, right? And let him embed himself in the running game, get Steno more focused on the offensive line play, let Matt continue to do what he does, and your offensive set, the defense stays stationary. Maybe you bring in another young name like we brought in Coach Covington last year. Maybe you bring somebody in to kind of amp it up a little bit more. Let's reset this thing next year and get ready to go after a Lombardi. Here's what's beautiful about this, guys. From a Packers fan standpoint, this is like we're getting ready to play a playoff game Saturday. And we're already talking about, man, what could you tweak just make things a little bit better in the offseason, right? It's a great time of the year, man. How blessed are we to be Packer fans? You got the youngest roster in the league, which gives you a lot of leash, in my opinion. I know there's some fans that don't agree with that, but you guys know how I feel. It is what it is with the youngest roster in the league. You got Micah Parsons coming back healthy next year, Tucker Kraft coming back healthy next year, Devontae Wyatt coming back healthy next year. You're resetting the draft. You're resetting free agency. There's people already out there doom and gloomers. We ain't got no money. We ain't got no money. If they want a free agent, there's plenty of restructures that can take place to go get whatever free agent you want. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that after the season. But right now, man, somebody going to win this Lombardi, and I wouldn't rule out the Packers. I think we could get hot at any second. And how cool would it be to go on a run in the playoffs and then know that all those key pieces are coming back healthy next year, and hopefully everything falls into the place the way we want, that all the coaches are coming back, like, Hafley, like we just mentioned. Maybe you can add a McDaniel. And, man, the sky's the limit for this team. So it's going to be absolutely awesome. Stephanie in the chat says, love being a Packers fan, no better organization. Amen to that, Stephanie. Amen. Oh, look at it. We got the juice in the house. Surprised O.J. Simpson face. There's no enticing team for Hafley to go to to coach, only the Giants and the Ravens. He'd be dumb to leave and join a dumpster fire organization because he'd be a one-and-done head coach that way. The juice is spoken. I think it's a fair point, but money talks, right, Juice? Money talks. That's one of those things where if they're willing to overpay, it's kind of like I remember Nick Saban. You guys remember Nick Saban? I'm not leaving Miami. This is all rumored, blah, 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 blah. Bama offered him a contract. I'm not leaving. Then they came back and offered him whatever it was, $10 million a year. And he went, well, see y'all later. This has been fun, right? Yeah, money can change your mind real quick. I understand what you're saying too there. Surprised O.J. Simpson face. But, that's it is what it is. He got that right, bud. Get out of here, Juice. You're supposed to – never mind. All right, that's it, guys. If you're watching this back later, let us know in the comments how you feel about this whole situation. What's the perfect scenario for you as a Packers fan? Lay it out. What coaches do you want where? Maybe you want to get rid of a coach or two. Maybe you'd like to there's another young executive of that you'd like to replace John Eric Sullivan with if he does get a general manager job. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. We'll be live, I'm sure, here a little bit later when we get the entire injury report back. So we'll get you all those details as we get closer to game day. We got a playoff game in Chicago, a little bit of snow in the forecast. It may snow, it may not. Nonetheless, it's playoff football, and I'm absolutely fired up for it. So make sure you guys hit that like button for us. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack, go.
Here we go. We're out.
Bye, guys.